2018, I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. It was November 8th, 18. And my wife and I had a kind of pretty good cry right then.
How did you find the carnivore diet?
What made me go think about a different diet or a different way of eating was one evening I took my socks off and my legs were imprinted where my socks had, when I come off, my calves were big and my ankles were small. And I told my wife, I said, geez, look at this. And she says, oh, you need compression socks. And I said, that's not going to help. I said, I need to change something. My legs are swelling. I'm just, this isn't right. I'm on high blood pressure medicine. I had never been on high blood pressure medicine and before, although I'd been on it for a year. And I thought, this isn't going anywhere. And so, gosh, I'll have to think back. Podcasts basically is where I found it. Maybe Anthony Chafee or Paul Saldino or somebody like that. And then, you popped up. There's just a lot of information out there. And that was really what started me on it. I thought, well, if I can lose some weight, I figured that was the one of my issues was I wasn't fat, but I was I'm 5'8" and weighed close to 200 pounds. I'd fluctuate from 195 to 200, and so I did it, and I started May 1st of this year, 23. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy because I'd sit down at the table with everybody's eating. I can't remember exactly what we had the first meal. I sat down with a steak, and everybody else was eating meatloaf or, ham or something like that, and potatoes and green beans. And I had a steak and nothing else. And but now I've lost 35 pounds, so I'm down. My last doctor's appointment, he said I weighed this was several months ago. I guess this was in June. So shortly after I started the carnivore way of eating. And he said I had weighed 195 the previous 6 months I'd seen him. And then I was weighing 170 when I saw him. Well, I've since lost another 10 pounds. So I'm pretty much sitting at that right now. And I don't have any issues with my leg swelling anymore.
That's awesome. So can you describe the leg swelling a little bit? Like, I mean, I've had that situation where, you can see the sock marks in my leg, but was it like your legs were kind of just expanded, like suddenly full of water or something? Or
well, yeah, my calves were a bit larger than my ankles. I mean, where the sock came up, there was a defined edge, and it was, you could tell there was something going on. My legs were swelling with fluids or something, and I just thought this isn't right. And I said I had been on blood pressure medicine, which previously my blood pressure just kind of started going up in the last couple of years, and so I was on blood pressure medicine, which the first medicine that I took threw me into some kind of allergic reaction to all kinds of foods. And so I got off of that, and took me about a year to get through that, the reactions to that drug or that medication. And so they put me on a different medication, and it did lower my blood pressure, and it didn't have any side effects, but I still didn't like it. And my blood pressure wasn't terribly high. It was like 135 over 85 or something like that. And I have, since June, I haven't been on any blood pressure medicine at all. This morning I took my blood pressure. It was 122 over 74. So I think that's pretty good. But anyway, I've been kind of trying to stay healthy for the last couple of years. And this year is... I've probably felt the best I've felt in the last 5, I guess.
That's great. in such a short time too, because what's that? May, June, July, August, September.
Hmm.
So basically 5 months.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I went pretty strict. I kind of followed the beef, bacon, butter, eggs, water, salt for the first 6 weeks or so. I started adding some dairy, some milk, a little bit, drinking cream with my coffee. But man, that first few weeks and the first month, it was like crazy. I was like, oh, I checked. I was checking the scale daily. I mean, people say don't check your scales, but it was like fun. How much did I lose today? And so for now, I've settled out. But I've started eating a few different things, and um, it's my weight is settled in. Before, when I was heavier, when I was like 195, it seemed like it didn't matter what I ate, I stayed at the same weight. So I've kind of plateaued there. But and it was kind of crazy because I thought I was eating relatively healthy. But I'd have a cookie, I'd have cakes, I'd have vegetables and things like that. And I did like meat, and I had meat. But anyway, that's kind of where it is. I guess I could start with 2018. I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. It was November 8th, 18. And my wife and I had a kind of pretty good cry right then. And I just told her, I said, well, this is the last cry we're going to have. We're done. We're going to go positive from now on, and we're going to take care of this. So I went, started taking chemotherapy, IV, and took 13 treatments of intravenous. That was really hard, hard on my body. One of the drugs was oxalplantin or something like that. It makes your fingers and your feet super sensitive to cold. So sensitive that if you pick up something in the refrigerator, you need to have gloves on. You can't drink. I couldn't drink any cold water. It felt like it felt like ice fuzz in my mouth. It just hypersensitive, and literally you couldn't touch anything cold. And they do tell you wear gloves if you're handling anything out of the refrigerator. Another one was Vitrobix. I had about 4 treatments of that, and that's supposed to help the tumors in the liver. But it made my head so dry that my face would spontaneously bleed. And it was tough, but got through that, and that was 6 months. And then kind of went into remission. That was 19, but it came back later in 19, and so I changed oncologist and went to KU Med Center and found a doctor, surgeons, and ended up doing another round of chemo treatments along with 28 radiation treatments. And so that was another little pain in the butt. But because the radiation was radiating everything through me. And anyway, had surgery. It was called APR surgery, abdominal peritoneal resection. So basically, they literally rip your guts out and move things around. And I have a permanent ostomy right now. And so that was something interesting on that was I thought had been eating a healthy diet before I got cancer. I'd had a nice smoothie in the morning and a lot of fruits and vegetables and greens and keeping myself healthy, I thought. And then I got the cancer. So after this big surgery, I was in the hospital, and the first meal they gave me, or they let me, I was just off of the regular menu. I could just order whatever I wanted. And I thought, well, this is dumb. I mean, I just had my guts ripped out, and I can order whatever I want. This is stupid. But that was what it was. And nobody talked to me about any kind of nutrition. Nobody talked to me about diet. The whole cancer thing was more chemo treatment than taking care of your body. And that was frustrating. During my first course of treatment in early 19, there was a guy that was he wrote books or was on the internet, and he cured himself with drinking just carrot juice. And so we kind of started on that juicing phase. And I thought, this isn't sustainable. This is crazy. But did it for a while. And, my issue at that time was I was going through so much chemo that I just had a terrible time finding something to eat. One day, something would taste good, and the next day I couldn't stand the smell of it. I wasn't getting sick. I didn't have the stomach issues, and I wasn't throwing up or anything like that. But it was just different textures, and like I said, the coldness in my mouth. It's just so many different things going on with my body that it was just hard. And so, during the chemo thing, the diet really wasn't an aspect of thought. I would just eat whatever I could. I was drinking Ensure, trying to keep my weight up, and just trying to hang in there. Yeah, that's kind of where I was at. Then back to the hospital, and I was eating whatever I was trying to stay kind of healthy. But I remember one of the first things I had was chicken Parmesan. I was like, oh, this thought it tastes good. And it kind of tasted good, but I thought, oh, that's not the right thing to be eating. But I had no idea, they weren't coming in and saying, well, you should stick to this, eat oatmeal or soft foods, or, The other issue at the time was that was the beginning of COVID, and initially my surgery was scheduled for March 30th of 20, and my wife was going to come in, be with me in the hospital room, and help me on all that. But unfortunately, when COVID hit, they wouldn't allow anyone in the hospital, even with patients. So I was in for 6 days by myself, and I did fine. I mean, I stayed in contact with her and everything, but I'm sure that she was probably more distressed than I was because she couldn't be there with me. And she's a nurse, and so she knows what's going on, and they kept her informed. But still, both of us were by ourselves, and that was, but we got through it. I guess one of the things, when I got cancer, I said I didn't want to cry about it anymore. We did when we found out. And it was kind of hard because, well, that's a new road, and that's going to change a lot of things. But it came down to what I said to myself was, this is just another, after this, it's just another day, and let's just get on with it, and let's just do what do we got to do. And I went to all my chemo treatments. I just did everything I had to do. Followed the doctor's advice. Did my chemo, did the radiation, did the surgeries. I had to have a second surgery after my first surgery. I had an abscess above my liver, and that was another slice. So, but fortunately, my wife was able to be in the hospital with me at that time. But again, it was just like, let's get it on, let's do it. Every day is different. I kind of felt like it was a challenge, and what are you going to do? It's everybody around me was probably suffering more than I was. That was my opinion. My thought, I was just going through it, getting it done. Everybody else was watching me. I guess that I see when I see or hear of people getting cancer, I'm concerned. I feel bad for them. When my situation, when I was personally involved in that, it was more of, just like I said, well, okay, it's just another day, you know. I mean, I can't change it. You know, sometimes you get a headache. What are you going to do? Sometimes you get a stomach ache. What are you going to do? You know, you can't just sit down and moan about it. So you just have to keep on going. And that's what I decided to do. I mean, I read a lot of inspirational books, had family members with me a lot, had friends spend a lot of time with me, going through treatments with me. I mean, one of my good friends came to every single treatment that I had. And that meant a whole lot, just to have somebody be there. And I've tried to be there for other people like that and support them. And because I know that, you know, nobody really quite understands what you're going through. And even if I've been through it, I don't know what, you know, that person's going through either. You know, it's a challenge. And anyway, that was my cancer journey. Since my first surgery, I had another surgery. Like I said, the liver surgery, that was really painful. The first couple of days, like, oh damn, I can't move. But the interesting thing about it, I was on such heavy drugs in the hospital because that liver surgery is extremely painful, and I was on morphine and Dilaudid, and you know, like every 3 hours I was getting something, and I needed it. And 5 days after the surgery, I had everything removed, all the drainage tubes and everything, and I was ready to go home. They gave me like, I don't know, 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams of oxy, and sent me on my way. And I didn't take anything else after that. I felt great. And so that was kind of like, I don't need the pain medication. When I have pain, I do, but at that point, it wasn't that painful.
That's
Yeah.
so. Can I just clarify at this point, like after that first APR surgery, that was the cancer completely gone at that point?
Actually, it was.
Yeah.
I'd had, like I said, I'd had 28 radiation treatments, and I had chemo pill along with that. And then when they did the surgery, they did a 27 lymph node biopsies and the liver resection biopsy, and there was no evidence of cancer. So at that point, we call it NED, no evidence of disease. And I've been that way ever since. I was getting every 3 months, I was getting a CT scan. Now I've gone to every 6 months getting a CT scan and blood work. So I'm probably the healthiest person you know right now. I mean,
That's awesome.
so yeah, it pretty well knocked me down. Then the inflammation started after the surgeries. I don't know whether it was because I was so sedentary for so long. My back started giving me problems. My left knee started giving me problems. I was actually going to have a knee replacement done, but then my back got so bad that I could barely walk, and so I had back surgery. I had a laminectomy, which took care of everything. Then I had a knee replacement on my left knee once my back got better. And so those were both done in 22. And now in 23, I just decided I got to do something. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I just went, I gotta do something. So I started working out a little bit. The YMCA has a cancer program called the Live Strong program. So I did that. And that helps a lot because it teaches you how to learn the machines and how to work out correctly with the Y. Again, they don't talk to you much about diet. Just eat healthy. Well, that means greens and low carb or low fat, I guess you'd say. That didn't help me much, but I did bulk up a little bit. As far as the knee and the back, they started going away, but I still had this inflammation, like I said, with my ankle swelling or my calves swelling, and I thought I got to do something different. So when I started eating carnivore, everything started feeling better. before that, I was on my blood pressure medicine, and I'm on a blood thinner, and I still take that. I was on a ibuprofen, like 600 milligrams twice a day, and an allergy medicine. And now I just quit taking the ibuprofen. I just kind of forgot about it, and I haven't taken ibuprofen because I don't really have that many aches and pains. My back still gets a little stiff once in a while, but I've had back surgery. Come on. My knees are great. Yeah, it's just so much better. I picked up a 40-pound bag of chicken feed the other day and carried it. And I thought, geez, think about that. I'm carrying almost as much weight in this bag as I lost. And that's heavy. So, when you put it in that perspective, it gets kind of real.
It's funny you say that. I was struggling to carry some stuff home from the supermarket the other day, and actually it was less than what I lost, and I was struggling,
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh God, I'm glad I didn't have to lose 100 pounds. Wow, that would have been incredible. But even again, I only needed to lose about 35 pounds to start feeling better. And that's pretty incredible. And I knew I could do it. I just didn't know how easy it would be. And that's the thing about it is so incredibly easy. Now my wife doesn't eat that way. I told her, I said, well, why don't you try this? And she says, well, one of us has to stay healthy. And I kind of like, which one is that? So I've tried to get her to, and it's, we talk about diet, and again, I go back to what everybody says on the carnivore. It's a way of eating. It's not a diet. And so I get up and I make her breakfast in the morning, and I make her eggs and bacon, and I do put and ham and cheese, and she likes her vegetables in it. So I give her some peppers and onions in it, and I'm kind of trying to wean her away from some of the cereals and things like that. And I'm trying to get her. I said, okay, this is a no sugar day. Stay off the sugar. Just little things, baby steps. Actually, we went to the state fair yesterday, and we ate sausage on a stick. They had a vendor there they make their own sausage, and so now they, instead of offering it you can get it with a bun, but they offer it with on a stick, and we both got one of those, and it was great, So baby steps, and so it's so easy. I just stopped eating vegetables and cereal and any sugar at all. No cookies or cakes. That was easy. Just don't do it. And I do some intermittent fasting. I've read I've started listening to podcasts, reading books. What Jason Fong, I think, he talks about intermittent fasting. I haven't tried more than a day, but I go 24 hours pretty easy. And I don't find that I hear about, I guess I just remembered my thought on, you asked me at the beginning, how I started, how I heard about carnivore, and I guess Jordan and Michaela Peterson. Joe Rogan, I listened to Joe Rogan podcast, and he had Jordan Peterson on, and he was talking about the lion diet. And then Michaela Peterson had a talk, and she talked about the lion diet. And I thought, yep, that sounds interesting, because she had the rheumatoid arthritis and inflammation. I thought, well, that sounds like something to get into. So there we go. That was Jordan Peterson. So that was the early one. Now that I think about it. And so again, so easy.
It's easy to shop. It's easy to prepare, right?
Exactly. I mean, if I didn't have, I've been a cook most of my life in one way or another. I was raised in a Tasty Freeze from the time I was 4 years old till I was about 12. And I tell people, I said, yeah, I had free access to hamburgers, French fries, all the shakes, pop I wanted. It's amazing I didn't weigh 300 pounds, but I was, I was light and able to move around. I'm a pretty normal kid. And then basically food industry a lot, been in manufacturing quite a bit also. But I just like to cook and bake and things like that. But now we have 3 freezers and 2 refrigerators at our house, and we keep a lot of food in it. And I've got one freezer just dedicated to meat, and there's another freezer dedicated to whatever else everybody wants, and that's where the cookies and the chips and the bread and things like that are at. And I think, wow, if we didn't have to have all that stuff, we could pare it down to a lot less freezers and refrigerators. But then I'd probably just buy more meat, and and then I look at, since I'm used to working in the kitchen, I think, well, just think, people build houses and they have huge pantries. I said, well, you eat this way, you don't need that pantry anymore, because you don't have to have all those condiments and baking goods and things like that. So yeah, it is easier, that's for sure.
One of the things I've noticed, especially on social media, and is, you've got people who have their kind of addictions with buying things, and it might be they're addicted to buying shoes, they're addicted to buying cars, or something like that. I think once you're on Carnivore, it's kind of one of those things where you start getting addicted to buying kind of all these different cuts of meat, and and I can get this much into the freezer and all this kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I think, well, I've got enough meat in the freezer, and then I go to the grocery store and I say, wow, that's a good buy. And think, okay, there's some ribeye on special. Well, cool. I can put a few of those in the freezer. So yeah, I have to kind of monitor myself and make sure I've got room. I've got plenty of room in the freezer. That's right now. And so I've kind of laid back a little bit. But you think ribeye is $10 to $15 around here, and I think, well, $10 to $15 a day. Wow, that's a lot. But then I think, yeah, but I'm only eating once, because basically I'm down to one meal a day. And I got up this morning and I had some breakfast. I had 3 eggs and a couple pieces of bacon, and I don't usually do that, but I thought, well, maybe I need to eat a little bit this morning, but normally I have my coffee, and that's about it. I might eat a piece of bacon, but I don't have to eat. And I rarely eat lunch. So it's, if I don't eat breakfast, I definitely don't eat lunch, and then I might eat something. Then I eat something in the evening. I eat steak or.
So like your one meal a day is about what, 6, 7 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do cook for. We live with. My mother lives with us. My wife and I and my mother all live in the same house, and so they eat different than I do. So I make sausage gravy for my mother so she can have breakfast. I make bacon for her and keep it in the refrigerator. That way she can eat whenever she wants. I did bake some nice French bread the other day, and she really likes that. But I try to keep it simple. The vegetables have definitely stopped. We might eat a potato once in a while. And I asked him, I said, you want some green beans with this? You want anything? No, they're fine. Okay, good. We've got probably a dozen or so cans of vegetables and all kinds of vegetables in the freezer, but they don't eat them anymore, and I don't. So it's kind of interesting. And so I try to focus my wife on little baby steps and keeping her towards that, and they're doing fine. But I let them eat. I mean, they eat whatever they want. I said, here, I'm going to make this meat. I'll make a meatloaf for them. I'll make stuffed peppers or things like that. And I do most of the cooking. I grill chicken. I do grilled fish, and we have shrimp and scallops, and a lot of different food, a lot of different meats. And I always offer to make them a vegetable, but a lot of times they decline it. So
Mm.
they're going in my direction.
That which is great. It's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, my wife still thinks that we need the vegetables and things like that. And one of my daughters thinks I'm absolutely batshit crazy. she's, she's like, "You're gonna die. You're gonna have a heart attack. I don't want to have to come to your funeral." And I said, "You know, life is terminal."
Mm.
That's the other thing I've decided. You can't. When I had cancer, it was hard, but that was just the normal daily struggle for me. Everybody has their daily struggles. It's not a big deal. And if you try to stay healthy, that's the best thing you can do.
Mm.
And, I know that a lot of healthy people have gotten sick, and I feel better. So it's difficult to understand when people talk about that. I know that maybe you and maybe a lot of other people, when they tell people they're on carnivore diet. I mean, I get this all the time. I talked to a dairy farmer the other day because I was getting some raw milk from him, and I told him I was on carnivore, and he goes, I don't think I could ever do that. And you're a dairy farmer. Well, how hard would that be? You got your beef right in your backyard. But it's all education and a desire to look at other facts, I guess you'd say. I was thinking back on before we started talking that how I felt. Obviously I'm not on ibuprofen anymore, and because I don't need it, but also the stomach issues I used to have. I was remembering back, over a year ago, we were at a really nice bed and breakfast, and I was just miserable. And it wasn't anything to do with the bed and breakfast. It was just what I'd eaten.
Mm.
And I had a
Mm.
miserable night. And I have an ostomy, so it's not like I can just sit and squat and hopefully everything comes
Mm.
out. It's a little different for me. But I was just miserable. I was laying on the floor just in pain. And I think back, and I've had several times like that. Well, and I guess I was just eating normal, I guess you'd say. But now that I've cut all that stuff out, I don't go to the bathroom more than twice a week. And that's, for a while, it seemed really strange. I thought, oh, I'm binding up in here. But then all of a sudden I'd cut
Mm.
loose and everything was great. And so, and then now the more I've researched and hear from people, some people say they do once a day. Some people say it's a couple times a week. And so when I eat just meat, it slows down. So,
Mm. Yeah.
and
It's like your body's just getting the much more nutrition, or able to extract more nutrition from what you're eating, so there's less waste.
right. There's no
Mm.
fiber. I don't need all that other
Mm.
junk coming out. I read about and listen to people talk about the blue zones and the different way people eat in Africa, and checking their scat as they, they eat so many berries and so much stuff. Well, yeah, that's kind of where they live and what they do, what they have
Mm.
in Africa. That's what they have to eat. But there's also places. I believe the blue zones are healthy, but I believe that there's a lot more to it than just they're vegetarian.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the blue zones they talk about all the time is Okinawa,
Mhm,
and Okinawa is not a vegetarian place.
mhm.
Like, Japanese people, including people in Okinawa, eat so much meat, and Okinawan people eat pork like it's going out of fashion, you know?
They talk about, like you said, eating a lot of pork. They also eat, the Greeks eat a lot of goat, drink a lot of goat
Mm.
dairy. And if you read about goat dairy, there's a lot of MTC in it. So there's a lot of good things about it. And
Mm.
eating or drinking raw, um,
Mm.
if you can, that's a great way to do it.
Mm.
I I do a little dairy. I was on carnivore. I had I thought I was lactose intolerant. I didn't drink milk. I drank oat milk or almond milk with my cereal, and I thought, well,
Mm.
that kept my stomach from binding up, and I'd get real stomach cramps. And now, boy, I can eat cream, anything,
Mm.
whole milk, raw milk. It's just fine. I don't have any issues at all.
So, I'm really interested to know kind of what physical or mental things have you felt have changed for you since May 2023? Like maybe even like you talked about the changes with the ostomy before, but
Mhm.
um, any what other things have changed?
Well, brain fog. Um, I, I've thinking much clearer. I believe. I'm not any smarter, but I can sure. It seems like I can figure things out, or just yeah, I don't know. The weight loss. I had let's see, 6 months ago, I had a dentist appointment, and I went to the dentist, and I had this bump on the top of my head, and it was kind of felt like a unicorn. I felt like I had a horn growing out of the top of my head. It was just a skin tag sort of a deal, and the my friend that was doing my dental cleaning, she says, "Boy, you should really go to the doctor and get that taken care of." Well, I did go to the doctor after that on my regular visit and a scheduled visit, and I asked him about that, and he says, "Well, that's fine. We can freeze that off if you want." It's gone now, though. I don't have it just went away.
Mm.
Um, that was kind of odd, I thought, and just the fact that I don't have the swelling. I feel better. I've started working out. When I'm online, I look at all these different programs and workouts, and I was at the Y, and I I gave up my membership to the Y because I just wasn't going enough. And you go to the Y and you spend an hour there, go every morning or however morning is a week for an hour or so. And I found this book, Body by Science, and they call it high intensity training. It's slow training, and so you do once a week for about 20 minutes, and it's very slow moving. And I started doing that, and I feel good. I have bad neuropathy in my legs. My feet are pretty numb, so my balance is very bad. My right leg is, I have drop foot, and I don't know if that's partially because of the neuropathy from the chemo or partially from the back, the nerve damage from the back before the surgery, but I have drop foot, and I walk with a bit of a limp, and my balance is horrible, and I'm getting stronger and feeling better. I'm it's it's making a difference, losing 35 pounds, and just feeling, just generally feeling better, feeling kind of stronger, I guess you'd say, thinking more clearly. I have I've done woodworking most of my life, small things. I owned a lot of rental property in my life and did most of my own work in that. And so when I got cancer, I sold all of my houses and didn't do anything for several years. And now just recently, within the last 2 months, I've started working in my shop and doing woodwork, and it just comes so easy now. And before,
That's awesome.
I just didn't have any stamina. That was the biggest thing. I mean, I'd take a morning nap, and I joke to people. I says, I have to go take my morning nap, because if I don't take my morning nap early enough, then it interferes with my afternoon nap. So, you know, that's kind of where I was. And now, you know, I'm retired, and I don't have to do a lot. So I do take a little nap in the afternoon, but that's kind of my power nap. And then I get on, and the rest of the evening I'm busy. But, you know, that was another thing that it was kind of disappointing. When I got cancer, I just was not able to work, and I was working a fairly physical job in a manufacturing, and I just couldn't keep it up. I tried, the tipping point for me was I tried to move a small engine from one cabinet to another, and normally it wouldn't have been a big issue, but I just kind of lost my balance. I didn't drop it or anything, but I thought, this is nuts. I can't do this anymore. And I'd lost so much weight and muscle and balance at that time, so I just had to quit and retire. And so I retired when I was 62, and I really liked to work, but now I'm 66, and I'm ready to go back to work again, it seems like.
And so at 66, what age do you actually feel?
Well, other than my legs and with the neuropathy and the issues I have there, maybe 45. Seems like I just feel like I could do what I did then. I've got fairly decent upper body strength, but my stamina has gotten much better in the last couple of months, and so now I feel like being more active. My wife and I went to the state fair yesterday, and we walked for 3 hours, and I didn't sit down at all. So that was kind of a challenge to me.
Nice.
Getting back to the car was kind of like, okay, this is the last leg, you know, I'm gonna get. But I did it, and it wasn't that big a deal, you know. And so, yeah, mentally, it's maybe 45 for upper body physically. Yeah.
Nice. So let me ask you a question that a non-carnivore might ask you in conversation. When are you going to start eating normally again?
I tell them I am eating normal. They're eating abnormal, you know. Why do you need cookies and cakes and all? You know, I'm not saying that I won't eat a cake once in a while, but a piece of cake or something like that. But it has to be pretty special. For the first several months, I went through a birthday and I had a bologna cake instead of my wife thought that was pretty funny. She made me a bologna cake, and but I just don't crave it. It tastes wonderful. I actually had a couple bites of real ice cream yesterday, real homemade ice cream, and man, that was sweet. Oh, wow. I make ice cream. What Dr. Kiltz's ice cream, a lot of cream, a lot of eggs, and just a touch of monk fruit just to give it a little bit of sweetness. And it's really, really good. And I do that once in a while, but not too often. Once every couple months, I guess I'd say. But again, to me, carnivore is normal. I don't need the vegetables. I don't need the sweets or the breads. You know, I used to think if my normal lunch, sit down on a Saturday or Sunday watching football would be, I'd make me a big sandwich with some nice ciabatta bread or something, and lettuce and tomato and meat, and then I'd sit with a bag of chips and some sour cream and munch away, you know. And now I just sit down with a glass of water, basically. I don't need that. I'm not hungry, for one thing. And that's kind of one of the questions my wife has for me. Was the other day we were out on the town, and I didn't eat breakfast. She did. Then we went, I said, do you need something for lunch? She says, yeah, let's go have lunch at our friend's Mexican place. So we went there, and she got her something to eat. She says, you having anything? I said, no. And I had a glass of water. And then that evening we had steak. And she says, you didn't eat all day. And I said, yeah, I didn't need to. And it's not because I'm being stubborn, I guess. It's just I don't need to. That's
You don't have the same impulses as you did when you're on a regular diet, right?
No, I don't. I just don't. I don't get hungry. That's the thing. You know, the hunger impulses come with hunger, but I do drink my coffee with cream. So they talk about your breakfast. Well, that's kind of it. Sometimes I put coconut oil and butter in it, and give me a little extra boost. I have had some issues with cramps, my leg cramps and things like that. So I try to take as much sugar and kind of experiment with the fats to see if that helps. And that has been helping more. Electrolytes are my friend now. But that's kind of it. What is normal? What is normal? It's just like, no, that's not normal. You're not normal. And when you sit down after you have supper, and then you sit down and have a couple, 3 or 4 cookies, and another glass of milk. I think.
Is that normal?
Why didn't you get enough? Why didn't your normal meal fill you up enough that you didn't need this? I try not to. I don't criticize because I don't want to be criticized either. I don't appreciate that, and so I try not to be. I just say, hey, I just don't need it, and try and walk the walk. And that way, if somebody wants to come along with me, that's great. If not, well, that's fine too.
Nice. Have you had any friends that have seen the results you've had and say, I want some of that too? Tell me what to do. I'm going on Carnivore.
Well, yeah, they notice, like, man, you're looking thin, but they don't really go along with it. I mean, I have a couple friends that say, yeah, I'm going to go carnivore. And I said, well, how's your carnivore diet going? I couldn't do that. I like my tacos too much, or, I gotta have a sandwich every so often with lunch. I'm like, well, okay. Everybody makes their choice. When I was going through my cancer journey, I did all of the traditional treatments, and I did some non-traditional treatments, and that's just the way I did it. And people say, well, my wife says, well, the chemo cured it, and I said, the chemo had to help, so that's what I did. And I'm not going to go into that at all right now, but I felt like I needed to take control of for myself. And I guess that's the biggest part of this whole, your life, my life, is having control of what you do with your life. And I've researched cancer cures, and I've researched now the health and the way of eating. And I don't see a downside really to the carnivore. I know there are downsides to the other way of eating, because I've felt it, and so until I start feeling wrong about the way I'm eating, I'm just going to keep doing it. It's like I said, I'm down. My weight's down. I feel better. I feel stronger.
You feel 21 years younger. It's not a kind of way of eating that is likely to be dangerous for you, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. No bad thing makes you feel this good permanently.
Well, right. And I'm not a strict carnivore. I listen to Jordan and Michaela Peterson, and Michaela she has to be on a strict carnivore diet. I listen to Sean Baker, and he doesn't want any of that stuff. He just wants meat, period. And I listen to Paul Saladino, and he kind of goes off into some fruits and honeys and things like that. And I thought, I'm not doing. I might eat a banana once in a while just to see how I feel. My daughter lives in northern Montana, and they have cherry groves up there, and they have sweet cherries. 2 months ago, and I was up there, and they were wonderful. And so I had a few of those, but I mixed them in with some. She has goats, and so she had goat milk, and I made. They had goat yogurt, so I had goat yogurt and goat milk smoothies with the cherries in it, and I thought, well, that's great, I like salsas sometimes, homemade pico, and so I have peppers and onions and things like that. But I do that somewhat, sometimes, not often, just to spice things up, literally spice them up, but not every day. And I know that you hear people talking about, well, if you have something sweet, that'll send you into, you want some more. It's like an addict, and I've not had addictions before. I've quit smoking. I've quit chewing tobacco. Things like that. And I just stop, and I don't have any issue with it. I do drink a little alcohol here and there, but I also stop it for a week or so. Don't do it. Just tell myself I don't have to do this. So if I have sugar, I know tomorrow I won't have anything. Or I don't have sugar. I have something that might be a sweet in some way, like the ice cream of something like that. And I just, okay, tomorrow I'm just going to go strict. And that's what I do. Beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. And, but my diet is so simple. I think we raise our own chickens. I have raised some quail. So we have quail eggs, chicken eggs. And so I've got access to all the eggs I need. And I don't even eat as many eggs as I could, because I just don't eat that much. Sometimes I'll have a steak and I'll have a couple eggs with it, and that's kind of nice. That's a nice side. It's kind of like a, yeah. Instead of ketchup, or A1 sauce like I used to have with my steak, I have an egg and a little cheese on the side, and that's kind of it. But as far as strictness, I do pay attention to how I feel. And some people say that if they eat cheese, it makes them feel bad. If they eat broccoli, it makes them feel bad. Headache or body aches or something like that. I don't eat vegetables at all, so I don't know. I don't try that. But if I do have a little extra cheese or some milk, I kind of pay attention to how I feel, but it doesn't bother me. And
I mean, the great thing about a way of eating like this is, because you've basically eliminated everything, when you do have something that's a little treat or whatever it is, you can pay very close attention to the effect it's having on you, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you can, okay, so that's how I feel when I eat this. Okay, I know that this can be a treat, or I know that I never touch this again,
right?
Depending on how your body reacts.
Yeah, and I haven't had too many issues with that. Like I said, I just kind of I stay with the basics and eat just the meat and animal products, whatever. If I want to vary something, I'll do it, and then the next day I'm back. It's not like, oh no, I fell off. Now I'm gonna, I ate 2 slices of bread yesterday, and now I'm gonna have to have a sandwich tomorrow. And no, that's not. I'm not that way. It's just okay. I enjoyed my bread. Like I said, I made some French bread. I bought special French flour from France, so it doesn't have the glycemates in it, and I just thought I wanted to make some healthier bread, and I just wanted to try it. And so I ate a couple slices. It was great. And then my family ate the rest. And because they like bread, but I thought, well, if you're going to eat bread, then you're going to eat healthy bread. It wasn't that expensive when you compare store-bought decent bread as $5 a loaf. And this stuff probably cost me $5 for 2 loaves to make. And anyway, enjoy doing it, but I don't have to have it. And that's, I guess, maybe the thing. You don't have to do anything,
Yeah.
And everybody has their own choice. Again, that's their own. It's your own health journey and how you feel. And I just feel so much better that there's no reason to go back. I don't. Again, it's not really a diet. That's just the way I'm eating now, and it's so easy. Even if I fell off of it for a week, it would be so easy just to jump back on it. It's not an issue. Biggest thing is for people is educating themselves and find out what's right for you, and just do it. Like I said, in the beginning, it's just another day. You have to get it done, no matter how you feel. If you have your choice every day you get up. Are you going to be in a good mood, or are you going to be in a bad mood? You're going to put your happy pants on today or not. And if you don't put your happy pants on, you're not going to have a good day.
Greg, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. It's been nice talking to you.